In any form of media or art, creativity and innovation is often quite difficult because how do you come up with something that nobody's ever seen before? But indie games are often filled with surprises, and the amazing thing about this one is that it gives us a lot of familiar stuff and then smushes them all together in an awesome little package. Created by developers All Possible Futures and published by the legends over at Devolver Digital, the Plucky Squire is one of the most visually captivating games from this year, with a pretty cool concept that combines a lot of classic stuff we've seen before in games and puts a little twist on them that will wow old and young gamers alike. Now, the game has a lot of amazing things going on that we'll cover in a bit, but it does have some small hiccups that people need to take note of before buying the game. This will be a spoiler-free review, so don't worry about missing anything really important. But first, what exactly is this game about? Well, it's a story about a brave hero named Jot, who is the main character of a storybook set in the magical land of Mojo. Jot's brave, he's strong, and normally the winner of his fights against Humgrum, the evil wizard who wants to take over Mojo. Now, at first, maybe for a lot of adults, this sounds like a game to buy for your niece or nephew for their birthday. And you can still do that, but don't be fooled because there's a lot of great stuff for us adults as well. Especially once Humgrum figures out a way to control the story and Jot gets ejected from his book into the real world, which in this case is on the desk of a 10-year-old boy named Sam. Now, to defeat Humgrum, Jot needs to jump back and forth between the real world and the storybook in order to regain control of the story again. Because if Humgrum turns the story bad, well, Sam will never get inspired by it and will never become an artist. Or worse, maybe he'll become a miserable adult making YouTube videos while his friends become doctors and lawyers and... Wait, what was I talking about? Oh, right, Plucky Squire. Anyways, this concept of going between 2D and 3D is the game's greatest strength, as the way levels and puzzles are designed are kinda insane. The devs went ham in showcasing their hard work in blending the 2D and 3D environments together while creating the puzzles and levels. Well, not to spoil too much of the experience, but there are moments where you have to go back and forth between 2D and 3D, with many puzzles making you think in both perspectives to progress. Also, whenever Jot's back in the storybook, the devs sprinkle a lot of different gameplay formats that are very reminiscent of various games throughout the years, such as Zelda or Mario, making it really exciting when you understand the game they're referencing. It's such a joy to experience because the game's clearly a love letter to a lot of people's childhood games, and so even if the aesthetic, the story, and maybe even the gameplay may be directed to kids more, there's a lot of references here that adults will definitely appreciate seeing. Speaking of seeing, this game's just a visual treat. The art is just really good, having a similar flavor to Mario games, and it's pretty fun to just admire the environments and set pieces the devs have put into the game. The 2D and 3D segments are both very well designed, giving you the opportunity to explore a variety of levels both in the storybook and in the real world. Sam's desk is especially complex, with a lot of stationery, figures, and toys that are carefully built to reflect his preferences, his love for the Plucky Squire storybooks, and even the passage of time, with day and night levels. It's so good that the ability to collect some of the concept art throughout your gameplay is something I personally appreciate because I really wanted to see what the devs' inspirations were, how the game's concepts evolved, and how their design philosophy was like for the levels and characters. Now, I've been kind of gushing about the overall design and concept of the game, but I did face some issues here and there, mostly in terms of the narrative and gameplay. For starters, the story takes a bit of time to get going. The initial segments are largely done to introduce you to the world, the characters, the gameplay, but it suffers a bit from pacing as the flow gets interrupted pretty often by explanations. Once it does pick up, I personally think it gets really good and finishes strong. But for me, that was shortly after the halfway mark, so some players may need to be a little patient before they could get to really enjoy the story. It also progresses quite linearly, with not much side activity except for collectibles, which I think isn't a big deal, but they created such a beautiful world, and so I found myself constantly wanting to explore and uncover secrets, which is probably a good problem for any dev to have. In terms of gameplay, combat is likely going to be a mixed bag for people because you only get one weapon and a few moves that you can unlock by collecting the light bulb currency in the game. So if you're expecting some complex movesets or a deep RPG system, then you'll be a little disappointed. Now, my main gripe here is the bugs, because I encountered quite a number of them, with most forcing you to restart segments or to skip minigames because somehow they get broken. It happened way too frequently and kinda hurt my enjoyment because the minigames are actually kinda fun. I also came across a game-breaking bug that had me stuck on a puzzle when I was more than halfway through the game. There's an option to go back to a previous save in case this happens, but I didn't know about this initially, and since the autosaves were very frequent, what ended up happening was that I was running around trying to figure out how to fix the bug while the game kept saving, making me even more stuck as all of the stored saves were after the bug locked my progression. There's also no option to restart the chapter you're in, so I was inevitably forced to do my entire playthrough again, which kinda sucked. Again, my personal experience is very likely rare, but I did see other reviews covering a lot of the bugs that these people encountered as well, so I hope that the developers kind of patched this out in later updates. And if you already own it, I caution you to immediately exit the game when you get stuck because of a bug, so that you can load an earlier save and avoid what happened to me. But really, once these are smoothened out, the overall experience was really fun and surprisingly moving. I can say without a doubt that the devs who worked on the game truly wanted to show how much video games mattered to them and inspired their own growth. So I can confidently recommend this as someone who feels the same way. But again, it's that kind of game where the narrative and the level design are the stars of the show, with some of the other elements like combat and exploration taking more of a backseat, so you might want to temper your expectations if these are important to you. But that's it for me. Thanks for watching. If you've already played the game, let me know what you think. Do you love or hate the game? Do you want to play more from these developers? Let me know down in the comments. Like and subscribe for more reviews and essays. This is Sai from Fireplace Gaming. I hope you're having a great day. Catch you in the next one.